Welcome to the Online Digital Marketing Podcast. We'll be discussing marketing strategies, trends, and tips that will help your business succeed in the digital age. Every episode, we'll be interviewing industry professionals and providing valuable insights on how to leverage digital tools for maximum engagement and ROI. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date on the latest trends in online marketing.
So you work incredibly hard, you do everything asked of you do it well, you get along great with your coworkers, and you still feel like you're not quite moving forward. Stuck, maybe overlooked.
Yeah, that feeling. It's surprisingly common.
Right, and that's really the starting point for our deep dive today.
It really is. Think about that story shared from the author's own time at LinkedIn. Doing everything right, getting good feedback, working on big projects.
But still feeling stalled out, not getting to that next level.
Exactly. And the realization was that this sort of heads down, say yes to anything approach, well, it wasn't working for advancement.
So the problem wasn't the effort, it was how they were showing up. Or maybe not showing up in the right way.
Precisely. It's about how you present yourself.
Yeah.
So this deep dive is all about building what the source material calls unforgettable presence.
Unforgettable presence. Okay.
And it's positioned as like the key to really intentional career growth. Breaking through those plateaus we all hit sometimes.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our mission here is to go through the insights shared on, well, everything from communication and public speaking to self-advocacy and leadership, giving you concrete ways, hopefully, to move forward in your career. Faster, smarter, maybe with fewer roadblocks.
Sounds good. So where does this journey actually start? It begins with a pretty fundamental mindset shift.
Okay.
A lot of us kind of just assume that hard work alone is enough, or that our managers, our colleagues, they'll just sort of handle our career progression for us.
Right. You just keep your head down and hope someone notices. But the core idea here is taking intentional ownership.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stepping into that role of the CEO of my own career.
I really like that framing. It feels empowering. It puts you in the driver's seat, not just waiting for things to happen.
Totally. Puts you in control. And presence, it's important to say, isn't about being loud or pushy or, self-centered.
Right.
It's described more as a powerful shorthand.
Yeah.
It helps other people quickly grasp your unique value, how you can help them, and what makes you.
Well,
You.
So it's basically your reputation at work.
Exactly. But built with intention. Crafted.
Okay, so crafting that reputation, that career brand. The material gives us a framework for this, right? APIC.
That's it. Experiences, personality, identity, and community.
Experiences, personality, identity, community. Got it.
And the really interesting insight there, I think, is the emphasis on community. How your colleagues, your peers, your network, how they perceive you. That often carries, frankly, significantly more weight than how you see yourself. Perception is a huge part of this.
Wow. Okay, so understanding that community perception is like a necessary reality check. But what stops us? What gets in the way of showing up authentically and building that presence? Imposter syndrome comes up, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a massive barrier for so many people. That nagging feeling you don't belong or you're not really capable, that you'll be found out.
Yeah.
There's a really powerful story in the material about Joey Avails. He was interviewing with a very conservative organization. And he had these bright red eyeglasses. And he worried they'd judge him, so he actually left them in the car. He felt he had to hide this part of himself.
Wow. Did he get the job?
He did. But he realized pretty quickly he couldn't actually thrive there by, minimizing who he really was.
So what changed?
He made a conscious decision to show up as, and I love this phrase, Joey 1000%. Red eyeglasses and all.
Joey 1000%. That's great.
And the takeaway is so clear. Hiding parts of your authentic self, it just minimizes your brilliance. It limits your potential to connect, really.
And that connects to Linda Tom's perspective, right? About leveraging differences.
Exactly. She talks about not just seeing differences as things to overcome, but actively looking for how they can be unique advantages, things you can leverage.
Okay, so mindset shift. Check. Embracing authenticity. Check. How do you actually package this brand then? Make it concise, impactful, something you can share. The material talks about a UPI.
Yeah, the unique, powerful introduction, or UPI. Its whole purpose is to quickly communicate your value proposition, what you bring to the table.
And what goes into it?
Typically, it includes the problem you solve, who you solve it for your audience, what success looks like, maybe goals or metrics, and then just a brief mention of your day-to-day work.
Okay. The example they gave was pretty striking, going from just, I lead the editorial team.
Right, very generic.
To something much more specific, like, hi, I'm Lorraine, and I lead the editorial team. Our focus is to collaborate with business leaders to create content that educates and inspires our millions of users.
See? So much more specific.
Yeah.
So much more impactful. It gives context, shows scope, boosts credibility almost instantly.
And the insight there is that just changing how you describe your work doesn't just change how others see you.
Right.
It can actually boost your own confidence in what you do.
Absolutely. And adding a little personal touch in there can help build that human connection right off the bat, too.
Okay, so we've defined presence. Now, the foundation for actually projecting that presence has to be communication, right?
Yeah.
Speaking and writing. The material really hammers this home.
Oh, definitely. Words matter hugely, especially in business. The point is made that you need to be really thoughtful about your word choice and actively work to eliminate phrases that might undermine your presence, even stuff that seems kind of harmless.
And there's that interesting research mentioned about warmth and competence, that duality in how people perceive you.
Yes. That social cognition research, it's
Yeah.
fascinating. And your language choices can really emphasize one or both. You know, using words like collaborate signals warmth,
Okay.
while backing up your points with hard data obviously signals competence.
Yeah.
It's about finding the right balance for the situation.
And tone, too. Not just what you say, but how you say it or write it.
Crucial. How you say something dramatically impacts how people feel about the message and maybe more importantly, how they feel about you.
So for written stuff, I really liked that practical tip about the email haiku.
Yeah, from Kim Scott. Keep it short, punchy, get straight to the point, respect people's time.
Makes sense. And what about asynchronous communication, like chat, Slack, things like that?
Increasingly important. The material points out they offer flexibility, sure, but also allow for more thoughtful, considered responses sometimes.
Yeah.
And crucially,
Yeah.
they give you visibility.
Yeah.
Maybe even with senior leaders who aren't in your everyday meetings but might see those channels.
Good point. Okay, so from written words to increasingly being on camera, the material dives into supercharging your presence, both virtually and in person.
Yeah, video's huge now, isn't it? Those virtual first impressions. They stick, they last a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Doc Rock is quoted, kind of humorously, pointing out how a bad setup,
Yeah.
you know, the laptop on your lap, camera pointing up your nose, bad lighting, look.
We've all seen it.
Right. It can totally undermine even the most brilliant message. Video just amplifies everything, good and bad.
Okay, so how do we avoid the dreaded nose cam? There's a method mentioned.
Yeah.
TE.
The T method, yep, stands for tech, energy, and aesthetics. Basically, your checklist before hopping on a video call.
Let's break that down. Aesthetics. What does that cover?
That's your visual presentation. Lighting is number one. Absolutely key. Front light is best face the window. Don't have it behind you.
Right. Avoids the silhouette effect.
Exactly. Soft diffused light is great, or natural light if you can get it. And watch out for glare if you wear glasses.
Okay. And environment. The background.
Yeah, the background is being called the new business suit. There's research suggesting it matters to like 60% of people.
Wow.
So curate it, keep it simple, clean, maybe some plants or books. Those tend to read positively. The main thing is your physical space is communicating something about you, so manage that message.
And virtual backgrounds. Thumbs up or down.
Generally, the advice is thumbs down. They can be distracting, glitchy, sometimes make you look like you're in a witness protection program.
Got it. What about appearance itself? Clothes.
Yeah, just think about colors that help you stand out a bit on camera. Jewel tones are often recommended. Avoid colors that blend into your background or, wash you out.
Okay, that's aesthetics. What about energy on video?
This is crucial. Even when you're muted, your nonverbals are practically shouting.
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa Van Edwards called them vocal affirmations. Things like nodding, smiling, even laughing when appropriate. It shows you're engaged, even without sound.
That makes sense. And gestures.
Also powerful.
Yeah.
Apparently, using hand gestures can increase recall of what you said by something like 33%.
Wow. Okay.
And eye contact. So important for connection. On video, that means looking directly at the camera lens, not necessarily at the person's face on your screen.
Right. That feels weird at first, but makes a difference to the viewer. Okay, beyond the formal meeting, what about small talk? Is that part of presence too?
Definitely. Dory Clark has a great frame for it. She calls it information gathering. It's like a little fishing expedition to find common ground or deeper connections.
So less how are you and more.
Yeah, try more specific questions that actually invite a real answer, like what was the highlight of your weekend, or seen any great shows lately? Something that brings the energy, as the material puts it, starts a real thread.
And using names.
Oh yeah, highlight it as a simple cheat code for building trust. People respond well to hearing their own name.
Makes sense. Now, we're talking a lot about video, but in-person still matters, obviously.
For sure, the basics still apply. Open body posture, making good eye contact, using gestures effectively, and managing your energy levels, maybe taking a quick walk before a big in-person meeting.
The key insight seems to be your physical presence, just like your virtual one, is always communicating something.
Always. Okay, let's shift online again, specifically to LinkedIn.
Right. It's positioned as way more than just a job board these days.
Oh, absolutely. It's your digital landing page, your virtual office, sometimes even the water cooler. It's where people go first to check you out professionally.
And the stat about 7 people being hired every minute on LinkedIn, that's pretty motivating to get your profile right.
Totally, because it's often the very first place people look. And profiles with complete info get way more views, something like 40% more.
So what are the key sections to nail?
Well, experience, obviously. Focus on relevant roles. Maybe prune some really old internships that aren't relevant anymore. The About section is crucial. That's your chance to tell your story, share your motivations, make yourself human.
And the headline, that seems super important, right under your name.
Prime real estate. Don't just put your job title. There's a helpful formula suggested. I help audience do an action so they can achieve an outcome.
Can you give an example?
Sure, like I help mid-level managers improve their leadership skills so they can advance their careers and inspire their teams. Instantly tells people what you do and who you do it for. Much better than just manager.
Yeah, that's way more informative. What about photos?
Vital. A good quality profile picture. Smile. A genuine smile. They call it a Duchenne smile, the kind that reaches your eyes. And a background photo can add personality or context too.
Okay, profile optimized. What about actually using LinkedIn? Creating content.
Yeah, this is a big one for visibility. Sharing insights, experiences, stories. It not only helps other people, it keeps you top of mind within your network and even beyond.
But it can feel intimidating to post, right?
For sure. The key is overcoming that hesitancy. The material suggests effective posts usually need a hook. Maybe a surprising point of view, a vulnerable story, or a really clear, valuable takeaway.
And consistency matters.
Non-negotiable. Ross Pomerantz is quoted saying something like, people won't stick around if you're inconsistent. You got to give yourself a chance to build that momentum and audience. It takes time.
Makes sense. What about connecting with people? Any tips there?
One simple but critical one. Always send a personalized note with your connection request.
Ah, not just the generic invite.
Never. Explain why you want to connect. What caught your eye? What do you have in common? It makes a huge difference in whether people accept, and it gives context for the connection.
Good tip. And that story about Paul Park landing a job at LinkedIn through his profile and connections really drives that home.
Exactly. Oh, and commenting thoughtfully on someone's post before you send a request. That could be a great way to warm up the connection too.
Nice. Okay, let's switch gears to something we can all relate to. Meetings. Often not in a good way.
Yeah. We've all suffered through terrible meetings. The goal here is making yours stand out by being genuinely productive. Valuable.
How do we do that? Where does it start?
Well, before the meeting even begins, a clear agenda is non-negotiable. It needs a defined goal, why are we meeting, and realistic time limits for each topic.
Parkinson's law comes up here, right? Work expands to fill the time.
Exactly. Without those time limits, discussions just drift and drift.
But what about not having a meeting? Asynchronous options.
Yes, super important point. Consider if you can achieve the goal asynchronously, maybe status updates via chat, initial brainstorming on a shared doc.
What are the benefits?
Flexibility, obviously. People contribute on their own time. You often get more thoughtful input, especially from introverts who might not speak up in a group setting. And the data suggests it leads to happier, less stressed teams. There's a Future Forum stat cited about flexibility lowering stress.
Wow. And there's a pretty bold rule suggested, too.
Yeah. If there's no agenda sent out at least 24 hours ahead, cancel the meeting.
Ooh, empowering.
Okay.
Okay, so you have your agenda. The meeting is happening. What about during the meeting? Facilitation.
If you're the facilitator, your job is to actively guide the discussion towards that goal you set. Keep things on track.
That sounds especially tough in hybrid meetings.
It is. Proximity bias is a real thing that unconscious tendency to pay more attention to the people physically in the room.
Right. So how do you fight that?
A simple tactic is to intentionally call on remote attendees first. Make sure their voices are heard early and equally.
Good idea. And encouraging participation from everyone, not just the loudest voices.
Key, you might need to actively use the chat, encourage emoji reactions for quick feedback, or even gently call on specific people you know have relevant insights but might be hesitant to jump in. H. Walker is mentioned as someone who really focused on changing methods to include diverse voices.
And the thoughtful pause. That sounds interesting.
It's so powerful, but so underused. After you ask the question, just wait. Count to 5 silently. Even if the silence feels a bit awkward.
Why?
It gives people, especially introverts or non-native speakers, time to process and formulate their thoughts. You get much richer participation. It's definitely harder. Virtually, the silence feels louder, but embracing it is crucial.
And you also need to be listening and watching nonverbals, even on video.
Yeah, picking up cues.
Yeah.
The material also briefly touches on how to handle, the person who talks too much or how to draw out someone who's very quiet.
Okay, meeting's over. Done.
Not quite. After the meeting, someone, the facilitator or a designated note-taker, needs to clearly summarize the action items and deadlines. Who's doing what by when.
Accountability.
Exactly. And one more thing. Continuously improve your meetings by asking for feedback about the meetings themselves.
How?
The start, stop, continue method is suggested. Ask the team. What should we start doing in these meetings? What should we stop doing? What should we continue doing?
Specific questions.
Way better than just, how is the meeting? You get actionable feedback that way.
Okay, this is all building towards strategic career advancement, right? Influencing people, especially higher-ups.
Precisely. Making yourself unforgettable to executives. That requires a slightly different playbook than interacting with peers or even your direct manager.
How so?
There's a formula mentioned, the Scottelson formula. Start with your clear ask, then provide context. Lay out your arguments. Explain why it matters crucially, why it matters to them and the company. Offer options, and then give your clear recommendation.
That sounds very structured.
It is. And the core insight here is you have to learn their communication style and preferences. How do they like to receive information? Ask them, or ask their EA.
Tailor the message.
Absolutely. Align it with what they care about, their specific goals, the metrics they track, points from recent company reports. Show you've done your homework.
And be concise.
Oh, critically concise. The material introduces BLUF, bottom line up front.
Bottom line up front.
Yeah. Westcow emphasizes you got to get to the point fast with senior leaders. Their time is incredibly scarce. Don't bury the lead.
So mastering meetings with execs means preparing them beforehand, being concise, handling questions confidently.
Yep. And even using that conversational threading idea in small talk, subtly leaving hooks for topics they might find interesting later.
And ultimately, the goal is to become indispensable.
By truly understanding the challenges they face and proactively helping solve them. That's real value.
Okay, what about going for a promotion? The material seems pretty direct about this.
Yeah, it says hard work alone isn't enough. You need a plan. You need intentionality.
And you need to ask.
Explicitly ask for the promotion. Don't assume your manager knows you want it or thinks you're ready. They might not.
And don't wait until you feel 100% ready.
Right. There's that stat mentioned about how men often apply for jobs when they meet only some criteria, while women tend to wait until they meet nearly all of them. Don't hold yourself back unnecessarily.
So how do you know what's needed for that next level?
If your company has career ladders or competency models, use them. If not, you need to proactively ask your manager, maybe trusted peers or mentors, to help define what success looks like at that next level. What skills, scope, impact are required.
And peer feedback is important here too.
Crucial. The material highlights that 360 or peer feedback often plays a big role in promotion decisions. So building those strong lateral relationships is really key.
Makes sense. Speaking of relationships, managing your manager comes up as vital.
Absolutely critical relationship. They can be your mentor, your sponsor, your confidant, or a roadblock.
So build rapport.
Yeah. Get to know them a bit as a person, understand their goals, their pressures, their preferred work style, and then proactively set and manage expectations.
Under-promise, over-deliver.
Often a good strategy. And there's a practical tip about creating a README for yourself, a short doc outlining your own communication preferences, working style, etc., that you could share with them.
Oh, interesting. And skip level meetings.
Also mentioned as a good way to build relationships higher up and get a broader perspective on company priorities.
Okay, a big part of growth is feedback. How does the material frame receiving feedback?
as a gift, even when it's tough to hear. It's framed as essential for growth. And proactively asking for feedback. That shows a growth mindset, shows you're serious about improving.
Is there a process for handling it?
Yes, the 3Rs framework. Request, reflect, respond.
Request, reflect, respond.
Okay, request feedback specifically on something you want to improve. Give the person explicit permission to be candid. Reflect means truly listening to understand, checking your understanding, even if you feel defensive or emotional initially.
And respond.
That's about deciding what you'll actually do with the feedback. You don't have to agree with all of it, but decide what you'll take on. And if you do take action, follow up later to let the giver know. It shows you heard them and valued their input.
That closes the loop nicely. Okay, let's broaden out again to influence and networking. There's another model here, RAVE.
Yep, the RAVE model for building influence. Relationships, appearance, visibility, expertise.
RAE, okay.
And the core idea is that building a broad, strong network is key not just for influence, but even for job satisfaction. They mentioned that stat about having a best friend at work, boosting engagement.
So relationships and networking, both inside and outside the company.
Exactly. Internal networking is presented as a long-term game. Focus on quality connections, have a goal in mind. External networking can feel harder, especially for introverts. The material mentions feeling crippled by empathy, like you're bothering people.
Yeah, that resonates.
Conversational threading, which we talked about, is great for networking too. Keep the conversation flowing naturally. And there's that fascinating concept of rejection therapy.
From Jia Jing's TED Talk.
That's the one. Deliberately seeking out small rejections to desensitize yourself to the fear of being told no. His insight is powerful. By giving people the freedom to reject you, you earn the freedom to ask a lot more.
Wow, that's a mindset shift. Now, mentors versus sponsors, what's the difference?
Key distinction. Mentors are like guides, advisors. They help you with skills, navigating challenges, thinking through goals. Sponsors are advocates. They use their political capital to actively champion you, open doors, increase your visibility, especially when you're not in the room.
And you probably need both.
Likely, yes. The advice is to be clear on your goals before you seek either out, and make it easy for them to help you by being specific about what you need.
Got it. And visibility, the V in RAV.
Pretty straightforward. Be seen, share your wins appropriately, volunteer for high-profile projects, and crucially, volunteer to present your work or share insights. Speaking opportunities are a huge lever for visibility and influence.
And expertise, the E.
Demonstrating what you know, showing your competence. One interesting way mentioned to showcase expertise is actually by giving thoughtful, constructive feedback to others. It positions you as someone with valuable insights.
Okay, shifting gears slightly again. What about stepping into management, that first leadership role?
Big transition. The material talks about the manager mindset shift as perhaps the biggest challenge.
How so?
It's no longer about being the best doer. Your job shifts entirely because people-oriented. You're more like a conductor, leading an orchestra, enabling others to perform rather than playing all the instruments yourself.
That sounds like it comes with some nerves.
Oh yeah, natural nerves, pressure. It's a totally different skill set.
So what's key to leading that team effectively?
Trust is fundamental. Andrew Seaman is quoted stressing delegation, trusting your team and transparency, sharing information, and leading with empathy and authenticity. Really getting to know your team members as individuals.
And one-on-ones are important.
Absolutely foundational. The material emphasizes these should ideally be driven by the direct report, using a shared living document. Track updates, questions, blockers, but also, crucially, their career aspirations and development goals.
And as a manager, your role includes boosting your team's presence too.
Yes, it's part of your job now. Aaron Domick notes you need to advocate for your team's contributions upwards to leadership and teach them how to advocate for themselves, maybe by encouraging them to share small wins concisely on team chat or email.
Celebrating wins publicly.
Definitely. Builds morale and visibility. And another key point, building strong relationships with your management peers is vital.
Why is that?
That network helps you advocate for resources for your team, find cross-functional opportunities for them, and just navigate the broader organization more effectively.
Let's talk delegation again. It's necessary for managers, right?
Essential. You can't scale yourself. Delegation frees you up for more strategic work and, importantly, develops your team members, even if training them takes time up front, like in that Michael client story mentioned.
How do you choose who to delegate to?
Based on their readiness for the task, their current capacity, and their interest or development goals. And you have to be okay with mistakes happening as part of the learning process. frame them as learning opportunities.
And giving feedback as a manager. There's another framework.
Focus CARIS, another acronym. Frame, outcome, cause, understand, steps.
Okay, break that down quickly.
Frame the feedback conversation clearly. Explain the desired outcome or standard. Discuss the likely cause of the gap. Seek to understand their perspective. Ask questions. And then agree on concrete next steps for improvement.
And the angle is to focus on the impact to the individual.
Yeah, often framing it around their growth and development can be more motivating than just focusing on the task itself. And timing give feedback promptly, ideally within 72 hours, as Robert Glazer suggests. Don't let things fester.
Okay, we're nearing the end. Let's talk about refining presence at a higher level, executive presence.
Right. And the material acknowledges this term can be problematic. Kim Scott even calls it a superhighway for bias.
Because it's often based on stereotypes.
Exactly. So the source material tries to redefine it. Mina Malik is quoted saying it's fundamentally about owning your power and being intentional about how you show up, less about conforming to a mold.
So what are the key traits of modern effective executives highlighted?
Building on their authentic strengths. Not trying to be someone they're not. Cultivating trust through genuine connection and even vulnerability. Andrew Seaman quote again. External visibility, like that strong LinkedIn presence we talk about, is often expected now.
Conciseness.
Paramount. We covered that. And listening more than speaking, Aaron Baumick talks about executives needing to get information from their teams.
And embracing meetings. That sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah, Sunny Vasi is quoted on understanding the different types of meetings and how to use them strategically, not just defaulting to them.
And those credibility cues, body language, appearance, voice, they get scrutinized more.
Definitely. More spotlight means more scrutiny, as Vanessa Van Edwards points out. And being able to read others' body language becomes even more important, as Linda Tong mentions.
Understanding bias is also crucial at this level.
Essential. Acknowledging your own unconscious biases and being aware of systemic biases. That stat from the Potential and the Gender Promotion Gap study about women's promotion likelihood is a stark reminder.
So what's the action?
Actively listen to those impacted by bias, especially if someone is the only person from a certain background in the room. Their perspective is invaluable.
And it all points to continuous growth, doesn't it? There's no finish line.
Absolutely none. Vin Jiang's quote about being addicted to knowledge application, not just acquisition, really hits home.
So it's not enough to just learn this stuff.
Nope. You have to apply it. Pick one thing, try it out, see what happens. That's where the real change occurs. Acknowledge the internal obstacles too, the fear, the doubt, they're normal.
What about AI? Does that come into play with presence?
It does. Not just as a threat, but as a potential tool to amplify presence. Maybe an AI assistant helps with research or generates content ideas. Alexandra Levitt's quote suggests a future of humans and AI making joint decisions.
Interesting. And finally, the importance of organizations investing in this.
Yeah, the Gallup stat about millennials valuing training and development is cited. It really is a two-way street. The individual needs to take ownership, yes, but companies benefit immensely from supporting this kind of growth.
It really is an ongoing journey then. Intentionality, learning, applying, reflecting.
Exactly. Rinse and repeat.
Absolutely. So if you're listening, you've likely put in the hard work already. That's the foundation. But building presence, consciously curating how you show up, that seems to be the deliberate next step.
It ensures you're seen, understood, and ultimately empowered to move forward.
We've covered a massive amount today in this deep dive.
And we really have.
From defining your brand, honing communication, mastering digital platforms, leading better meetings, strategic advancement, building relationships, leading teams.
Wow. It all threads together, though, around this central theme of presence.
It does. It comes back to that initial idea, moving from feeling overlooked to becoming unforgettable, not just to others, but maybe to yourself, too, empowering you to create that future by becoming the CEO of your own career.
Well said. So maybe the final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Given how fast things are changing, attention spans shrinking, virtual work, AI, what's one key aspect of your presence you'll commit to actively applying this week?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Not just nodding along, but taking action. Think about what really resonated with you from this deep dive. Just pick one thing and try putting it into practice. See what happens.
Ready to take your online business to the next level? Subscribe to our digital marketing podcast and then join our Accountability for Success Mastermind. With expert advice from industry leaders, you'll gain knowledge and insights that will help you succeed in today's digital marketing world. From social media strategies to search engine optimization, we have all the tools you need. Learn from successful entrepreneurs and take control of your online success. Join the Accountability for Success Mastermind now at bit.ly/AFSM podcast.